Hello and what's up, first class fans? Welcome back. We've had a week off, but here we are once again to break down everything FCL for you. We've got not one, but 2 weeks worth of matches to talk about, and everything is happening in these matches. We've got the Inner Geekdom debut, a first in the league, as we have our wrestling exhibition matchup to talk about, and of course, all the news in the first class league that's fit to print. But first and foremost, before we get started, let me just say that I have a lot of love in my heart for one of our competitors. So this one goes out to you, Sally Jesse, on This Week in the FCL. And hello again, first class fans. What a joy it is to be back with you. After a week off, we're all rested, we're all relaxed, and we are ready to go. I am, as always, the Elk, helping you to see everything that's happening in the FCL. And I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, the man so nice they K'd him twice. That's right, Keith Kilduff is here.
It's great to have everyone back in one room together. That's all I want to say.
It is lovely to have everyone here, including our very own super producer. Get this man a cape high up in the sky. That's right. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's CB.
Oh, it's fantastic to be back. It was a shame to miss last week, but it's just give us plenty to talk about this week. So looking forward to getting on with it.
And the man, the myth, the legend, the one who's working hard on all those shows and knows a little bit about wrestling and movie trivia, future FCL competitor Ryan Hermison.
Yes, it is good to be back. It's good to see everyone. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a great show. Lots of trivia, a lot of great competitors out there. So let's talk about it, shall we?
Absolutely. Let's talk about everything that happened this week. And guys, first and foremost, as much as we sometimes don't get along, I would like to say that it's great to have everyone back here on the show, all four of us in the same room. It's a wonderful thing. And I can't wait to get into the news for this week and for last week, folks. That's right. We do apologize for missing that, but we are back with a double episode for you today. So let's talk about all the news. And there are a few things I want to go over. Some things we're going to talk about as the matches come up. Right now, let's start with a few MTS pieces of news for some former FCL competitors and some former guests right here on this show. Some great people. Nick Harley is up first, and he is confirmed to be in the singles tournament in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown versus the one and only former Movie Trivia Schmoedown champion, Paul Oyama, a man who beat Dan Merle, a real competitor, a dangerous player all the way across the board. And I just got to ask you guys, what do you think Nick Harley's chances are going up against someone of the caliber of a Paul Oyama?
Well, I think they've definitely thrown him in the deep end, haven't they? That's feet first, deep, well, maybe head first into the deep end. I don't know, but Nick's shown what he can do in the FCL anyway, becoming the first champion, and he's shown what he can do in his first match. It's albeit a teams match in the MTS. So I think it'll be a good match, and I think he'll go all the way. But it's just what a first match to have, like first single match to have against a former champion, someone that's beaten the GOAT. So it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Absolutely,
I think to jump on that, CB, I think we all knew once we heard that Nick was going to be in the singles tournament, he was going to get a rough draw because he was going to get a top 8 competitor. I didn't think he'd get Oyama, but it is also an opportunity. Like 12 months ago, Adam Collins clipped John Roca in the first round proper. If Nick can take out Paul, there's no reason why with that kind of drive in him that he can't do a Collins-esque run either. He has the trivia. He's got the goods. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a high bit of praise from Keith comparing him to a potential Adam Collins. See if he can go on that sort of run. What do you think his chances are, Ryan?
Yes, this is going to be a great match. It's going to be a nail-biter. It's going to be a real match. I think it's going to come down to the 5-pointer. It's going to come down to the very end because Oyama and Nick are no jokes no matter what you put him in. So it's going to be a heck of a match. There's no question about it. Oyama, one of the younger competitors within the MTS, not to date anybody, but some of those people are quite old. But these two are quite young, so I'm looking forward to see how the young bucks do in this situation. So good luck to both. It's going to be a heck of a match. I will definitely be there. My eyes are going to be watching this match very, very closely. So yeah, I'll be there front row center. Absolutely.
And I will be there as well, checking out that match. As you know, I'm a big fan of Nick Harley. Call him Slick Nick, call him the spoiler. He's going to have to put his foot on the gas going up against Oyama because this is not a speed bump. This is a wall you've got to drive on through to explode your way into the movie trivia Schmoedown and into that singles tournament. Nick, best of luck to you. Everyone here at This Week in the FCL is pulling for you, or at least I'm saying they are, and that's all that really matters. Let's talk, of course, about another compatriot of yours, Nick, and another alum of the FCL moved up to the Schmoedown. That's right, guys. It's Ross from, I'm sorry, my notes seem to be incomplete. Ross will be in the Star Wars tournament if Thomas Harper manages to become the Star Wars champion. So right now, I think what has to be happening is Ross has to be at home calling up his friend Harper and saying, how can I help you win this match? What do you think?
The problem is, though, if Thomas wins, Ross is going to play who he's beaten because he's due to play Dim Malanta in the first round. So either way, the Den is getting Dim Malanta one way or another. Again, listen, it's the same thing that we've just said. It's going to be for an 0-0 person coming in making their debut. If he does make his debut, it's not going to be easy one way or another. But to that point, like, he is so knowledgeable. You can tell by the way, like, he speaks with a couple of times that we've had him on here, that he is going to give Dim Malanta, if he's in that tournament, to Ryan's point of what he said about the previous match, he's going to bring him to a 5, and then let's see what happens.
Well, that's something that I want to actually ask as we swing over to you, Ryan. With these two matches that are announced, one is confirmed and one is potential, Nick Harley and Ross from Nowhere, both of these guys were put into matches against, I believe we can all agree on this, incredibly tough initial competition. Paul Oyama, potentially Dim Malanta himself. Is this a sign of confidence for the FCL rookies that they're willing to throw them all the way into the fire right away? Or is this them doing the job, getting tested, and maybe going out once on their back before their careers really get going?
Boy, that's a $2 million question I wasn't prepared to answer on this very program. It's my first day back, man. Give me a break. But anyhow, I will say it's going to be, it's a mountain to climb. They want to throw them into the as Chris pointed out, the deepest end of the pool. This is like trying to climb Mount Everest, but you know what? They're going to be great matches either way. This really is going to put their skills to the ultimate test. There's no question about it. Ross from Nowhere, I mean, that's a great town, Nowhere. It's so wonderful. It's peaceful. It's kind. It's respectful. So, Ross, I'm pulling for you, man, but it's not going to be, like Keith pointed out, it's not going to be easy one way or the other. So, in the words of Morgan Freeman from the 2008 Oscar, should have got nominated for an Oscar from The Dark Knight, good luck. It's gonna be a tall mountain to climb, bigger than Mount Everest, Sonny Jim, but you know what? You can do it. So we'll see. Anything can happen. Crazier things have happened in tournaments.
And will that good luck be there for them? Gut feeling, what do you say, Chris? Will they be able to pull out the victory, either one of them, against opponents of this level, this caliber?
Yes, I think they can. I think, well, I'm very confident in Nick Harley. I think he can do it. I mean, it depends. It's hard to say. Obviously, Paul's a great player, but what we've seen from Nick, he's, pretty consistent. He doesn't miss a great deal. And, whereas Nick's in the singles, it's different to Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars, you miss one question, you're probably lost, right? But Nick, he doesn't really miss. So I'd like to see it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. With Ross, I normally sit on the fence massively about which way I think it will go. And I suppose I'm still kind of going to sit on the fence. I'm going to go in the roundabout way. But I think if like, this is a whole if situation. If Thomas Harper does go and get that belt from Dim Malanta and bring it back to the Den, and Ross makes it into this tournament and he faces Dim Malanta, it'll be a tough match. If he does get through that match, he'll go on and win the tournament. That's my prediction for Ross. I think he's that good. Just from us talking to him and just hearing how he thinks and how intelligent he is with things and how kind of calculated he kind of is. And even just being a fan of his podcast, he's got his own Star Wars podcast. I listen to that and I think he just knows Star Wars. And I think he'll win the tournament but he has got to get through Dimolanta, and it's the experience of Dimolanta may make the difference for it, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, that's right. We've got some cautious optimism for all of our competitors from everyone here on the panel. Of course, we're wishing you all best of luck. And I'm learning new things every day. I didn't know Ross had his own podcast. You know who else has a podcast, guys? We do. You might be listening to it right now. That's right. You can listen to this show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places you can find your podcast. Don't forget to check it out and subscribe, folks. And, of course, as we're talking, you said something else that I thought was very interesting, Chris, because there is some other news, but I think all of it kind of ties into the matches that we watch. So we'll get to it as we get to it. But you said in Star Wars, if you miss a single question, then you might be out of it. Just like being a fan of the FCL. And that's why we have our own experts here to break down every match and bring you all the questions. And we're going to get into that right now as we throw it over to our own stats man, Keith Kilduff.
Well, Andrew, thank you for throwing over to Keith. But actually, due to scheduling, obviously we missed that show last week. So I'm going to attempt to take some of the load off of Keith's shoulders and take on the duties of breaking down FCL18. And attempt, hopefully, to do Keith proud and ultimately hold my throne. Keith, if I use that term right, is that the right way to use hold my throne? I know you use that a lot in your breakdowns.
I think. Listen, let's get into this wrestling match, CB, and leave the terms to me.
Okay. So
I call conditions.
I'm sorry.
So okay, fair enough. I didn't use it right. That's fine. So anyway, wrestling exhibition match, as expected, with them being pro wrestlers, it makes sense. Their pre-match promos and interviews were pretty on point. I think you guys would probably agree, especially Ryan and Andrew are obviously the more wrestling fans of the panel we've got here. So we head into round one. We have the categories of champions, WrestleMania moments, Woman of Wrestling, finishers, All Elite Wrestling, WCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Reality of Wrestling. Now, Will Allday, he got the Reality of Wrestling question wrong. It's the only one that was wrong out of the whole round. Cole went perfect, took a 9-7 lead into round two. Andrew, both competitors pretty much eased through this first round, obviously apart from Allday with his one miss. Is this something you would expect from two competitors who are ingrained in the world of professional wrestling to actually go through this round as well as they did?
Well, to be fair, Chris, coming into this matchup, when we heard wrestling exhibition matchup in the FCL, I assumed that we might be seeing something a little bit gimmicky, a little bit kind of out there, maybe questions for wrestling that were on the easier end or focused in a specific area to try to give the competitors an advantage. And I got to say, what this first round did for me while I was watching was really illustrate that that's not what we're dealing with. 3 questions in, we've gotten an old school question, we gotten a new school question, we gotten another promotion question outside of the mainstream WWE, WCW. I mean, they really went all over the place. So there's a good range of wrestling knowledge, and both guys are comporting themselves well for a new format. They've never been in a trivia competition like this. They haven't followed the rules. They're both getting their answers correct. I mean, I might have liked to see a little bit better lighting and maybe a proper whiteboard out of one of the competitors because there were some glare problems. But in the end, answering questions, both guys are fairly impressive. I thought they handled themselves well. And really, we're off to a great start with this round one because the questions alone let you know we're going to see a real match. If this is something that you care about as an FCL fan, you may not be into the wrestling. But if you are, then they're taking it seriously and they're going to give you a good show. And this is exactly what we're getting off to with a 9-7 round number one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So let's head into round two. Along with the categories we've already seen of WrestleMania moments, AEW finishers, Women of Wrestling and champions, we got the wheel added in the categories of wrestlers in film, which we've seen previously in actual FCL competition, Monday Night Wars, Golden Era, announcers, Attitude Era, WCW, actually I think I mentioned that already, and tag teams and stables. Right. So Will Allday, he spun and he took champions. He went to multiple choice once. The question being, Chris Jericho is one of only 2 wrestlers to win all titles eligible for the WWE Grand Slam format. Now, I believe this is basically every belt that's available in WWE, is he's won them all, basically. Mm-hmm. So he went to multiple choice on it. The choices were The Big Show, Jeff Hardy, HBK, and Triple H. He answered incorrectly with The Big Show, but Cole failed to steal, answering HBK. The correct answer was, of course, Jeff Hardy.
Of course.
Absolutely, yeah. Cam Cole then had his spin. He took WCW. He drops to multiple choice twice. The first time with DDP, which I believe is Diamond Dallas Page. Yeah, he does yoga and stuff now, I believe. He impersonated which luchador to win over Randy Savage. Choices were Juventud Guerrera, Juventud, thank you very much. Yeah. Super Calo, is that right?
Super Calo, La Parca.
Yeah, okay. La Parca and Psychosis. Right. Cole was wrong, guessing Juventud Guerrera. All Day also failed to steal when he said Psychosis. Correct answer was La Parca.
I knew that, by the way.
Oh, well, good.
The
second multiple choice shot. Well, we'll get to that in a minute, Ryan. What you know?
Quite smart, you know. Yeah, I'm smarter than the average bear here, CB. But anyway,
okay, yeah. All right. Well, the second multiple choice, which is actually the Cam Cole went to, this is an answer. Even I kind of knew this as more of a casual wrestling fan from many years gone by. But what is the most decorated performer in WCW? Is it Booker T, Ric Flair, Sting, or Hollywood Hogan? Cole answers Sting incorrectly. All Day steals the points with Booker T, which I presume is his boss at Reality of Wrestling. I would think so. That then flips it. All Day's now leading 14-13, heading to round 3. Ryan, were you impressed with how these two FCL debutants navigated their second rounds, like strategically, like using their multiple choices and everything?
Yeah, I would say that, whether it's the usage of checking the multiple choice, using their JTEs, worked out really well. And there were some great questions, man. Seriously, you brought me back some good memories. I'm like, yes, I can get these questions right. However, I will say, as the WCW fan that I am, I would have gotten the last one wrong. I would have said Ric Flair because he's a 16-time champion. When you think decorated performer, decorated wrestler, I'm like, well, the guy's won 16 world titles. That's kind of a big deal. Yeah. And he is the leader of one of the guys of the Four Horsemen. So I thought Nature Boy Ric Flair would actually turn out to be Booker T. I'm like, well, Brad Gilmore's here, and he kind of works for that guy, so makes sense. Okay, Reality of Wrestling. So, yeah. Can you dig it, sucker? So, yeah, Booker T, it makes a lot of sense. Good on you. Good questions, good times, good brew, good buddies. Good round 2 there, CB.
Absolutely. I feel the same way as well. So, okay, we all know on This Week in the FCL that Keith loves a good wheel makeup. He loves the wheel. So, Andrew, I'll be amiss not to ask you, what do you think of these categories? Is there any others you feel could work, or you would like to see? Should we be given any more of these wrestling exhibition matches in the future?
I mean, I think if you were really to dig in deep into pro wrestling for the purposes of trivia, it's got a long history. I mean, pro wrestling has been around as a form of entertainment in North America for ever, and it's huge in Japan as well. There's so many directions that you can go. I could see potentially they could have categories on the wheel, something of the nature of maybe discontinued titles, only titles that no longer exist in one of the leagues, like the hardcore title in the WWE. Maybe they could go in a direction of firsts in wrestling, very famous moments that led to the world of wrestling that we have now. Maybe promoters or different promotions specifically would make good wheel slices. In the end, wrestling is a huge massive form of entertainment. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of TV hours they're filling out every week, a lot of events they're putting on everywhere. I think if you want to dig deep, this is an area where you really could flesh it out into an entire league all its own. I'm not saying I think they'll go in that direction or even that I want them to at this time, but certainly the potential is there. And if this is the level that we're going to see out of a match like this, good questions answered, good knowledge from the competitors who were both obviously very gung-ho to be there, performed well, then I think this is something we could see in the future. That said, for now, obviously, I think the focus needs to be on the FCL proper. But yeah, I think there's a lot of categories you could throw on a wheel for this.
Yeah, cool. That's good to hear. Okay, so let's head into the round 3. Let's finish this up. Will All Day's got the 14-13 lead. So Cam Cole goes first for his 2.0, which is on finishing moves, not fishing moves. That's a completely different kind of game. He can't pull the Doomsday device, which is obviously the Legion of Doom's tag team finisher.
Surprising.
I remember those guys with the spiky shoulders. So he can't pull that. So he has to go for his 3-point question in the women of wrestling. He gets that correct. China is the only woman to hold the Intercontinental title. Throwing back to Will Allday with his 2-point question in the category of champions, which he gets correct. And then he goes into wrestling film for his 3-point, gets that one correct also, leaving Cam Cole for his 5-point question to actually throw back to Will Allday. He gets the golden era, which, this is even before when I was watching. This is a long time ago. He gets it incorrect. The question was, who defended the WWF Championship against Rick Rude in the cage match of SummerSlam 1990? He answered Macho Man Randy Savage. Andrew? Oh, yeah. Come on. Oh, no. Yeah, come on. You left me hanging. Even I was like,
I don't even
Bring the rise to the top. Yeah.
Listen up,
Nobody does it better. Yeah.
It takes time to prepare. The Macho Man.
Right. So the correct answer was the Ultimate Warrior, which now Keith is going to do an impression of. No? Okay, let's move on.
Do you have
like, who the heck is the Ultimate Warrior? I never heard that guy.
And just shake. Do this, Keith. Just do this a whole bunch, and you'll
shake the rope.
That's it.
Okay, so but obviously with Cam Cole missing his 5-point question, Will Allday took the win in the first ever wrestling exhibition match in the Schmoedown at all, I think, whether it's FCL or Schmoedown. So, very good. It was a 1916 win. Ryan, what did you think of this round 3? How would you have fared in it if you were competing?
I definitely would have missed a few. I would have gotten a few right, definitely a few wrong, like the Doomsday device. I would not have been able to pull the steel cage match. I was thinking Macho Man or who was the other one? Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I was thinking those guys, because they've had a history of cage matches. Mm-hmm. But also the Ultimate War, I can't do an impression. I'm sorry, but I would not have been able to pull that. But overall, this was a great. This was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be, and the questions were a lot better than I thought they were originally going to be. So my hats off to the question writers and everyone involved, because if they ever do something like this again, I'll be there to watch, because anytime you bring up Monday Night Wars, WCW, NWO for life, by the way, happy 25th birthday, NWO. Any of that stuff comes into play, or WWE, it doesn't matter. I'm fully down to watch another match like this. And by the way, this makes a fan league competitor that I know of, a good friend of mine, Nico Suave Rigoli, who's actually auditioning to be a pro wrestler himself. He would be very happy that this match finally happened, because he's been pushing the executives at MTS to put together a wrestling trivia league for a long time. So, Nico, I know you're watching this. Congratulations. You got your wish. It finally happened. I hope you enjoyed watching that match as much as we did over here on This Week in the FCL. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as YouTube. That would be fine. So make sure to share this video with your friends too, Nico. So this was a lot of fun. It was good to watch. And if they ever do something like this again, that'd be great. I wouldn't say I would want this to happen every single week of my life, but if you do this like once a year, 2 times a year, 6 times a year, whatever, fine with me. I'm down for it.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, any thoughts on how this round 3 went for both competitors? Was it a case of just genuine difficult 5-point question that cost Cole the chance of making Allday have to face his 5-pointer?
Yeah, I mean, this is a question about the WWE or WWF at the time, obviously, but it's a mid-season event. It's not one of the big ones. It's at that moment, and it's a cage match that just fell onto a particular event. That's very specific. It is a difficult 5-pointer. To be honest, the only surprise for me in this round, and I know it's already been said by a couple people, they might not have gotten it, was a full-blown pro wrestler somehow not getting the Legion of Doom's Doomsday device, because that's a classic. It's an ancient. It's been there since long before the spiked shoulder pads. By the way, Chris, the spiked shoulder pads was the reinvention. The Legion's been around a lot longer than that. And I will also say congratulations to Allday. I think both guys did handle it pretty well. Came off with a good match. I would love to see either one of them come back. If they know movies, maybe back in an FCL match. Might be interesting to see that. But I would love to see another wrestling exhibition match. And for the record, to put it down right now so everybody knows it, Diamond Dallas Page's best impersonating another wrestler bit was Canyon. Mark in your books. It was not La Parca. It was not any of the luchadors. It was when he made fun of Canyon and kept giving people diamond cutters for no reason.
Okay, well, I will take your word for that one, Andrew. So, okay, Keith's been very quiet through this, and obviously I wanted to take some of the load off of him, but I'm not going to take all of the load off. So, one question for Keith. Now, obviously, because wrestling is not your forte, now the FCL has actually brought us one exhibition match. Are there any other exhibition matches, kind of categories you would like to see down the line? A Survivor exhibition match, maybe?
I mean, listen, if there's a Survivor exhibition match, myself and the Elk are going head to head, no question about that. But I think, listen, this was a lot of fun. As I've been saying for weeks, this hopefully brought more eyes onto the product. That's the main thing. With the whole Skybound MTS kind of collab, maybe there's an opportunity for like a Walking Dead exhibition match. Maybe there's an opportunity for an Invincible, I believe is the other TV show that they have. Maybe there's something like down the line. I think they will do another wrestling one when there's a big event that Brad and Booker T are doing for reality wrestling again. Maybe if there's like a WrestleMania coming up next year or whenever, but there's always options. Like you could even go as far as say like a Comic-Con, do a Marvel exhibition, maybe bring some of the guys from the MTS down, or some of the guys who maybe haven't played. There's always options, but I think there's like 3 or 4 ideas that I've thrown out straight away, and listen, these guys are a lot smarter than I am, so no doubt they've got things on the docket already planned.
Absolutely, but I have to agree now. Now you've said it, Walking Dead exhibition match, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of content there, whether it's from the 10 seasons of the show or even the comic book run, if they go that route with it. It's there's a lot there.
Spin-off shows that they got going on. My God. Fear the Walking Dead, there's The Walking Dead, Beyond the New World, or We Found a New World or something with other zombies walking around. Like, I don't know what the frack is going on, but apparently The Walking Dead, despite some of the hate it's gotten over the last several years, it's still going.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the spin-off shows from it as well. That is,
dude, there's like 2 of them now. It's
if it helps, most TV viewers don't think much of them either.
Oh, really? Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, well, on that note, let's move on to the main event of FCL18, where we had the Dynasty David Campbell taking on late to the party's Vanessa Fitzsimons. So they're both coming off of losses in their previous matches, but they were number 1 contender matches against Nick Harley and Kofi Outlaw, who obviously went on to fight for the title. Nick Harley won the title and now is in the MTS. So despite their 1-1 records, though, I think David and Vanessa, I think they're pretty widely known as top competitors within the FCL in general. So in round 1, we had categories of animated, action-adventure, romantic comedies, courtroom dramas, new releases, 1990s, black cinema, and horror. Now, Vanessa had a fantastic first round. She swept the decks, including her bonus question. Unfortunately, David Campbell, he pretty much came out of the block swinging and missed with his first question, which was in the category of animated, which is the Macaulay Culkin features in this 1994 live-action animation hybrid fantasy, co-starring Christopher Lloyd, Patrick Stewart, and Whoopi Goldberg. The correct answer was, of course, The Page Master. I say, of course, there are a lot of big names in that, and I've never seen that movie, never heard of the movie. So, anyway, wow, was that a Wilson impression?
Yeah, that was a popular movie during my day. Wow.
But unfortunately, then, David Campbell also went on to miss in the category of black cinema, the 1990s film where you find the characters Craig, Smokey, and Big Worm. Friday, that is very much a movie that I was very familiar with from my teenage years. Absolutely.
Dude, that was a big film in the 90s.
He got it incorrectly, obviously said Barber's Shop. And then the final question around in horror, David Campbell also got it wrong, which was Farewell to the Flesh, was the subtitle of the 1995 sequel to what 1992 horror film starring Tony Todd. He used to repeat on this one. Correct answer was Candyman Campbell. Unfortunately, Hellraiser. For me, on this one, to be honest, I had no idea what the answer was going to be until they said Tony Todd. When they said Tony Todd, I was like, it's Candyman. It's got to be Candyman. Obviously, Campbell unfortunately couldn't pull it. Now, Ryan, I know obviously you're a big fan of both of these competitors in a way. And obviously, you did the Great Spotlight series with Late to the Party. So after this first round, you must have been very happy for Vanessa, but equally feeling pretty bad for Campbell, which unfortunately was not a great start for the Scotsman.
Yeah, no, it was kind of tough. I should have taken the CB approach and just show me right the fence. I should have just ridden the fence and not picked anybody because I like both of these people so much. They're great people, okay? We want to support them. So, but it was kind of hard to see the Dynasty miss a few questions. But you know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's round 1. Shake off some of the jitters, or in this case, shake off the Candyman. and then move into rounds 2 and 3 and get those points back. But no, listen, Vanessa, what was it? Vanessa going perfect in round 1? Gee willikers, this woman has studied, and she has studied well because she knows her stuff. So, you know what? I got to be honest with you here, CB. It's a party with this match. It's a party because these people are awesome. I can't say anything bad about these two. This is hard for me to do. I'm so used to picking a good person and a bad person. There's always a pro and an antagonist, but in this case, you're just too good. But it was a tough round 1 for Campbell. But you know what? Rounds 2 and 3, anything can happen. You can pick those points right back up, and you can climb ladder and be the world champ of the week. So who knows? But yes, good first round. Good question too. And until they said Tony Todd, I'm thinking to myself, what movie are they talking about? It's Candyman, obviously. The only time I ever saw Tony Todd in anything else was the Final Destination franchise, when he looks at everybody and says, "Death doesn't like to be cheated." It's true. It's a scary thought, by the way. They make scary movies that start out like that. But anyway, back to you, CB.
Well, that's I agree with most of what you just said. But anyway, I'm going to carry on now. But anyway, Andrew. Well, David, obviously, as I said earlier, he's shown in the past that he's a very strong competitor in this league. What do you think would be going through his head going into the second round behind by 4 points, which is something obviously he's not experienced as yet?
I mean, I got to say, I think both of these are fine people as well. You can check out their Spotlight series right here on our channel. David Campbell and Late to the Party, both featured here on This Week in the FCL. But, I mean, if Ryan won't say anything, I clearly have to step up and be the bad guy, only it's kind of hard here because Vanessa does what she does. As Keith, I'll give you the credit on this one. He pointed out to me a while ago, everyone's talking about Robert and how he's only missed one question. Well, Vanessa was very close. Same thing, only one question off. It was just an earlier miss for her. She's since had a stumble or so, but in the end, she's a competitor on that level. The truth is, going into the second round, if I'm David Campbell, I've had some bad luck, and I think what's happening in his head is he's probably beating himself up about the questions he missed. He's probably thinking, how many points do I need to make in round 2? What he should be doing is shutting it down, calming down, and closing it off. He should listen to John Kaiser from the MTS, who always says this is a new round. The score is 0-0. You have to know what your points are, and you have to strategize, but you also have to throw off the misses, especially against a competitor of this caliber. David has to be thinking going into this, even a couple points behind, if he's seen her previous matches, if he's paid attention to the pundits, even watched our show and heard us talk about Vanessa, he has to be thinking, I don't know if I can make a comeback, even just 1 or 2 points down, which is the one thing he shouldn't be thinking. What he should be thinking is, how can I get the most points? How can I get steals? What categories do I give her if I get the chance? Those are the thoughts that should be running through his head, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And it's no wise the words have ever been spoken, Andrew. Well done.
I doubt that, but I'll take it.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, so let's head into round 2 of this big match. We had a wheel makeup of Disney, Anne Hathaway, Guillermo del Toro, Guillermo, I always say that one wrong.
Guillermo.
Will Smith, what Andrew said. Will Smith, one-word titles, 1980s, franchises, movie quotes, Bruce Willis, Wizarding World, and spinners and opponent's choice. Okay, Campbell spins first after Vanessa defers. He gets Anne Hathaway and he takes it. He goes through fine, but the last question he had to drop to multiple choice. It was the question of Anne Hathaway featured in Alice Through the Looking Glass in what year? The multiple choice options, as normally expected, are normally very, very close together. I'm not ever sure why you would drop to multiple choice on these, but you just guessed for it, but he's gone for it anyway. He guessed 2013 incorrectly. Vanessa answered 2016 correct and steals another point from Campbell, which is obviously not ideal with the lead she already had over him anyway. Vanessa spins Will Smith. She re-spins again, spinning away from Will Smith and gets 1980s. Her first question, she goes to multiple choice. Who plays the grown-up Geordie LaChance in Stand By Me? Great film. Mm-hmm. Multiple choice options being Richard Dreyfuss, Daniel Stern, Bob Saget, and Billy Crystal. She repeated actually the multiple choice options, obviously giving her as much time as possible, which is a smart move. I know Andrew would have appreciated that one. She does eventually answer correctly with Richard Dreyfuss, so it was a well-navigated round. So obviously she cleared through all the other questions, no problem. So round 2 ends Vanessa with a 17-11 advantage. Now, Keith, I have said personally in the past, if I was given a category on a specific actor, I'd find it very difficult to spin away from it, especially looking at some of the other, like the broader categories that the wheel included, like the 1980s, which Vanessa actually ultimately had to take. Do you agree with me in this, or do you think Vanessa was right to spin again and hope of getting her strength in what we believe is Disney?
It's a tough one because I suppose the difference with the FCL and the MTS is that competitors are only allowed to put one slice on, and this kind of maybe is a bigger kind of question and conversation we need to have. Is from David's point of view, does he pick something that's maybe going to bleed Vanessa if given the opportunity, or is he picking something that defensively he can hold? I mean, I think it's fair to say Wizarding World is definitely his kind of gig. He's put it on. It's been on the wheel 3 times in the 3 matches he's played. Have to say that it's probably his. You know, that's kind of a question maybe we need to ask. I think from Vanessa's point of view, this is not her first time at the rodeo. This is her 10th trivia match, be it MTS or FCL. So, like, she's been through it all pretty much, bar being the champion and being number 1 contenders. So nothing's really going to phase her, I think. Going back to your movie release dates kind of thing about going to multiple choice, David's down by 4 after round 1. He needs every point that he can get. He can't not go down and try and get 1 point back rather than wagering a guess and then bleeding another 2. So, like, yes, he did bleed, but he still has to give himself the best chance possible of cutting that gap, knowing in his mind, to Andrew's point, Vanessa's probably just going to roll through this round. So I think, ultimately, Vanessa is not going to be... She's not going to be phased with what's on the wheel. Like she said it herself, I'll let the wheel decide what I want. So that's a sign of confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you're probably right. Obviously, the experience Vanessa's got is probably... helped in this situation, definitely. So there's a 6-point lead for Vanessa heading into the final round, and it's a pretty big advantage, obviously, meaning David needs his 5-point question for any chance to get a win out of this. He did everything he could in this round 2 to try and shorten that gap, but obviously missing that multiple choice was unfortunate, especially with it was a movie release dates question hidden in Anne Hathaway category. It happens, and I think it happened this week at FCL19 as well, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But Andrew, I know point deficits heading into the final round is something that you've talked about quite a lot in the past, like maybe nearly every show we've done. but this is always going to be difficult for David to come back from, right?
You have to feel for David here. I've said before that I think David and Vanessa are some of those competitors in the FCL who are just too nice. They're so sweet and kind to everybody, and it kind of turns me off. I'm sickened by the lack of competition sometimes. But in this particular instance, after a round 2, that I got to say, I think both players handled strategically very on point. I think they made their correct decisions at the correct times. David did everything he could to fight back, and you've got to feel for him because, as I've said before, that's 6 points. That's it. That's the magic number. Once you cross that 6 line, you need your 5, and you need at least one of the others, probably both of the others. And even if you get all 3 of them, your opponent only has to hit a 2, almost a gimme for most competitors, and a 3, very up in the air, or a 5, also very up in the air. There's really, really a hard fight to get back from a 6-point deficit. I think David, he kept himself composed. He was very present and ready for anything that would happen. I don't think he ever gave up on the match. I didn't see that happen in his eyes, in his manner. But in the end, if you're up against a competitor, and I'll say this to everyone in the FCL, of the caliber of a Vanessa, of the caliber of anyone like a David even, who's up there, who's going to be competing for those titles, then you need to know if you're 6 points behind, the match is probably already over. Never give up, never surrender, Galaxy Quest, but you do have to know going into it that you're in a tough situation. That being said, they did this dance now, and I got a feeling, looking at these 2 and the title picture in the FCL, short of some draft shenanigans or something happened during the break, they'll be doing this dance again. David Campbell and Vanessa Fitzsimons, very likely to see each other in the ring again in the future. And the next time, maybe it goes a little bit differently. Maybe the wheel's a little nicer. Maybe there's a miss on the other side, because that's what this game is. On any given day, anybody can win Guy versus Merle. but most of the time, the person who's supposed to win does win. And I feel like today, no offense to Mr. Campbell, that's exactly what happened. Vanessa has been on a tear. She's been on a path, and she deserves a recognition on par with the champions of this league, like the Flouse, like former champion Nick Harley. She deserves to be compared to Robert Montano. She deserves to be compared to the best of the best and to get those title shots, to get those opportunities. And she proved it once again today.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, tall order was in thingy. So let's just have a quick look at the round 3 anyway. Obviously, Campbell had to answer all 3 of his questions right to better get there. Got his 2-pointer right, who starred in Man on the Moon as Andy Kaufman as Jim Carrey. And he unfortunately got his 3-point question wrong in directors, who directed Mary Poppins from 2018. He said Ron Howard, it was Rob Marshall. And obviously then it was down to his 5-point question. Harrison Ford was nominated for an Academy Award for what 1985 film? Campbell asked for a repeat, answers Witness, and avoids the TKO. And for me, that was a hell of a pull because I had no clue what that one was.
I knew that one, but only because it's weird that that's what he got nominated for. It's not an Oscar movie. But obviously, that getting that pull, getting this 2-pointer and 5-pointer, that means Vanessa at least had to answer some questions. Well, she had to answer one question. So her 2-pointer in the category of M. Night Shyamalan, who plays Prince Zuko. Anyway, it doesn't matter. In 2010's The Last Endbender, I've never seen it. She used to repeat a question twice smartly, but she still couldn't quite pull it because she said Dave Patel, which was incorrect because the right answer was Dev Patel. That is a heartbreaking miss. But obviously, in this situation, she had to get one question right. She had 2 more to go. So she went for a 3-pointer, action adventure. Eric Banner trains his daughter to be an assassin in what 2011 movie? She almost instantaneously answered Hannah quite correctly. I was like, not messing around. And then she took that 20-18 victory. Now, I don't think there's much we can say about this round, really. Like I said, the damage was kind of done when it comes to the actual match. But Ryan, what did you think about these questions? How do you think? Do you reckon these were good 2, 3, 5-point questions? Well, the ones we heard.
Gee whiz. Yeah, they were good questions. They were not messing around. Those 5-pointers, the pull of Witness. Good Lord, that is one of the biggest pulls I've ever seen in movie trivia history. That is a huge pull. Dave, is that hi Dave? Dev Patel, really? I mean, that bummed me out. I'm like, really? Man, it is Dev Patel. I know what you're saying, but it's pronunciation, you fools. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, if you had given me the poll a couple weeks ago, my vote still would have been for Vanessa to win this thing. Sorry, Dave. Sorry, Campbell. I'm still a fan of your dynasty, and I want you to destroy other competitors. But it was just Vanessa's day. The cards were, she got the right deck of cards. The odds were in her favor. There's a movie reference for you kids out there. So, congratulations to Vanessa. I'm happy for her. I'm glad she got the victory. She moves on to the next one, and Campbell's just gonna, it's a bummer. It's a heartbreaker, but he's gonna pick himself up, dust himself off. He'll get back in the ring. He'll be fine, and he's got a bright future ahead of him too. One day he'll be the FCL World Heavyweight Champion. But for now, I think it's time for either Montano or Vanessa to become the FCL champion and get that title away from that no good person known as the Flirtenflouse, who has no business in this sport, no business in this company, and no business having a belt like that around his waist. No, shouldn't be happening. But other than that, it was a great match, and my hat's off to both competitors. Great questions, too.
Okay, well, Ryan thinks they should be going for the belt. That is something I wanted to ask Keith and Andrew, but we'll start with Keith. What do you think is next for David Campbell now? Obviously, he's I think for a competitor as good as he is, his record is not fair whatsoever. I don't think it's just he's come against he's just come against the best, But I suppose if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and he's not quite done that yet. So for me, I suppose I'll be looking for David Campbell next. People with probably a similar record to what he's got, maybe even a Furtado or a Maxwell Haddad, maybe. But what do you think, Keith?
I think what David needs now is he needs a big sort of breakout performance. It needs to happen in his next fight. And I think Maxwell is probably the best person to kind of go against, because there's a lot of heat on Maxwell still, and good personality, good character. lot of knowledge. I think those two are a good match. But I think the next step needs to be a big statement from David, because he can't go 1-3, because then it's a different narrative altogether. But I think I would sign off on your Maxwell Haddad next up for him.
Yeah. Okay, and Andrew, do you agree with Ryan for Vanessa? It's aiming for the belt. That's where she's got to be looking next. That's the target for her now.
Well, whether it's Vanessa Fitzsimons or Steve Sabra herself, all the ladies want to dance with the Flirtenflows at the party. Hopefully she won't be late to this one. Vanessa definitely on the road for a title shot, the way she's been competing. I've said it before, I could see a late to the party triple threat against the Flirtenflows. I think that would be a great matchup for us to see. Either Vanessa or Robert would be great, but either one of them needs to be put into the title picture. And if they're not in right away, then they need to be shortly thereafter, because these are the cream of the crop of your league. Yes, I know late to the party's been in the Schmoedown, they've been around for a while, but you can see the way they performed, the both of them. If anybody believes they don't deserve to be in the title picture, to be the ones chasing down that championship, I don't think you've been paying attention for the last 18, 19, whatever it is, weeks now. They definitely deserve to be there. And I like the way this match turned out. I would like to see them move forward in the future. Hopefully, same thing can be said for David Campbell. Personally, if it were me with David Campbell, I would just throw caution to the wind. Let's go the old school wrestling method. Let's give him a jobber. Let's take somebody who has no business playing against David Campbell. And I know that's being a bit rude, but there's competitors who have the same record or worse records than him that definitely deserve their records. Whereas with him, he's faced all these big name competitors. So let's fate decide. Let's see if he really is cursed. Put him up against somebody who has 2 losses. And if he gets the win, then he gets a win on his record that he deserves to have. He gets to improve his record. And if he loses, then guess what, David? The world is out to get you. This is not your sport. Sorry for you. Try something else.
Okay, Andrew. David is a fan of the show and a friend of the show, so maybe I know you like to go in hard on people, but okay. I think that's it for FCL18. The breakdowns are done, and we are done for the entire. Oh no, wait. We've still got more.
We do have more.
FCL19. And I'm going to hand over to the very capable hands of Keith Kilduff.
Thank you very much, CB. I very much enjoyed taking the week off, or the last half an hour off, and just was able to kind of marvel as to, it's interesting to kind of like an out-of-body experience. Now I know what it's like when I'm doing all of this now. But listen, FCL19, 2 IG matches kicked off. Sean Wingblade, call sign Gundam in the Action Army, salute, coming up against Brennen Marr from the singles division. I think this is going to be a question that kind of come up, but obviously 3 of the 4 competitors were in other leagues, and now they've dipped into IG this week. Some to good, some bad, but listen, we can get into all of that. Round 1 in this, though, ends 7-4 to Brennen. The only question he misses is the dystopian future time travel one of what is the name of the prophet who assists Neo in the quest in the Matrix. Marr says Morpheus, the answer being the Oracle. Sean misses 4 questions in this, but 3 of them are very much actor specific. He doesn't know the Star Trek question of what Academy Award winner plays Adu Rafour. I'm going to butcher that pronunciation, so my apologies. He doesn't know who Lord Elrond is, and unfortunately he can't pull who plays Dallas in Alien. It's 7-4. Andrew, I think that's probably the kind of the story of round 1 is just Sean, unfortunately, not knowing these specific actors that you kind of need to know in IG.
I mean, in this particular case, you could not be more correct, Keith. Obviously, those are the questions that he missed. Let me start off by saying, as a person who's done a little competition, a tiny bit of competition in the Inner Geekdom world, who's written some questions for Inner Geekdom, there have been previously some issues in the FCL where some of the fans have said that they wondered about the question difficulty level, said some questions were too easy, maybe they're in the wrong place. And I got to say, this Inner Geekdom match definitely proved that it's not the way it always has to be in the FCL. These were solid questions. There was some difficulty. There was some actual deep down movie knowledge, even in round 1, and this will continue throughout the whole match. I don't think it's an indictment so much on Mr. Reid that he missed a couple of questions. Maybe the Elrond one. I mean, Hugo Weaving, big, bright face. Everyone knows him. He's been in so many huge movies. But overall, I thought well-handled, good questions. And yeah, the story so far for Sonny Reid just seems to be, I don't know that guy. Maybe watch more movies with James Cromwell in them or something.
Ryan, in these kind of specific genre categories like your IGs and Star Wars, a 3-point lead is massive going into round 2.
Yes, it is. It really is. And it can make, I guess in some way, shape, or form, it can make or break you going into rounds 2 and 3. But look, Inner Geekdom, these questions are getting tougher. Some of them are anyway. So it's not surprising. I would have known the F. Murray Abraham question because I just did a watch of the Star Trek movies recently. So I got your back, buddy. But yeah, this round one had some tough questions, but some of them were maybe softballs. But it depends on who you ask because each player is different.
Definitely, listen, subjectivity is always a big overarching theme of all kind of trivia, whether it be FCL or movie trivia Schmoedown itself. But listen, CB, we're coming into round number 2. I am very much, and I said it when we had Ross on the other week, I'm very much of the opinion that in these specific divisions of IG and Star Wars, you go first. Brennen doesn't. He defers to Sean. What is kind of your view on it in terms of, do you go first? Because you know what you're potentially going to be asked, essentially. So you kind of know what's coming at you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It can go either way, really. I mean, I suppose it depends on whether you want to, extend that lead and go for it, or and put the pressure on the opponent that way. For me, though, I think, I don't think it shouldn't really matter. I think, especially with these inner Geekton ones, I think everyone kind of should know. Everyone knows what they're doing when it comes to these categories, because that's why they're in this thing. So I don't think it really matters. But
I mean, John Knight and Lord of the Rings and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
we can get to that.
We'll get to that
later.
We'll get to that in a bit. I mean, yeah, I've not got much else to say about it. To be honest, sorry. I've got something to say about this round, but just not. Yeah, I just think going first, second for me, it's neither here nor there. I mean, unless you've got a pretty decent lead anyway, and you want to just try and finish it before they even get to answer a question, then maybe you make sure you get on the first there. But apart from that,
so listen, Sean spins, gets Star Trek, decides doesn't want it, wants something to look better, needs a knockout kind of punch here, gets Spider-Man, goes 7 of 8, goes down to multiple choice, and the third question being what actor played Robbie Robertson in the Sam Raimi movies, but otherwise gets Sally Field, gets Chris Pine, and how many MCU movies has Spider-Man been in, being 5. Comes back to Brennen, spins, opponent's choice, and Sean decides to give him Wizarding World. Andrew, you obviously have had a history in the Wizarding world of movie trivia. And this first question, how many films did Ralph Fiennes portray Lord Voldemort? Brennen says 4, the answer being 5. But is Voldemort in the Half-Blood Prince or not?
Well, I mean, this is a very, very difficult question. To be honest with you, when I heard this question, I said to myself that this is a question that I would hate to hear as a competitor. I might even be very, very, very reticent to put this out as a question writer, because you have 15 seconds. This is at least give them the 20 seconds to take some time to go through these movies, because you have 15 seconds to go through 8 movies to figure out how many of them had Lord Voldemort in them. And then beyond that, how many Ralph Fiennes actually portrayed the character, because Ralph Fiennes was not the voice of or the facial appearance of Voldemort the first time we see him on screen in Philosopher's Stone / Sorcerer's Stone, depending on which country you're in. So really, this is a very complex, very difficult question. And I think this is kind of a kick in the butt of a first question to get in the Wizarding world. Even for someone who knows what they're doing and knows these movies in and out, I think that's going to throw you off a little bit. Tough first question.
So Sean gets the steal on that one, says 5. Then in the next question, Brennen misses that one also by way of multiple choice, where character drops the prophecy in the Order of the Phoenix. Brennen says Longbottom. Sean says Harry Potter, neither, the answer being Lucius Malfoy. And then Brennen gets 3 out of 4 in his last 2, Robbie Coltrane being Hagrid, and then on multiple choice, who gives Harry the cursed chocolates and the Half-Blood Prince. So the 3-point lead that Brennen had is after flipping, and now Sean's up 13-10 in the second round. Ryan, what were your opinions on giving Brennen Wizarding World, and do you think Sean had a little bit of inside knowledge perhaps on what Brennan's weaknesses could have been?
Yeah, I think he did, considering they both used to train together for these kind of competitions. So that's okay. So we they know a thing or two about each other because they've worked together on an occasion or two. See, there's my clever usage of the commercial. So yeah, that was interesting to do. But Wizarding World is no joke. When it comes to Wizarding World and what's the other one? Middle Earth. Those are deep cut, hard cut, quite like you need to read like all 60,000 books and all 6 million pages, word for word, paragraph for paragraph, or you're going to get lost in the shuffle, my friends. And believe me, I would have. And they did to a certain degree. So, yeah. Opponent's choice, you give him Wizarding World. Yeah, that was probably I would probably say to Wingblade, you have chosen wisely. So good on him.
CB, the insider knowledge of Sean really kind of just helped him just twist the things back in his favor.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's kind of, when I was watching it, I was like, our Andrew is going to love this. It's just an aggressive. Yeah, they're friends. They've trained together. He knows what his weaknesses are, and he could have been nice. He could have said, well, "He's a friend. We trained together," and been nice. But no, he was aggressive with it. He goes, "I know he doesn't know Wizarding World. Let him have it. Go for it. See how you do." And he completely flipped the round around. Man, for an Englishman, my English
and your winner by way of winning.
My, how the turntables have turned.
I do have to say though, after this round, I do now know and understand that Brennen did not hold his throw.
He did not. He did not.
And that's the correct way to use that reference.
It is. That is the correct reference.
Yeah. So, but I did want to say about obviously with Sean, he had the one question where he didn't rush it. It was the Spider-Verse question. Who played Peter Parker in the
in Miles's universe?
In Miles' universe, and he did a very good job. He took his time. I think it could have been very easy to jump into that and go Jake Johnson straight away, because he was he was the main Peter Parker in that movie. Like, obviously Chris Pine was the correct answer. The Miles universe one was obviously only in it for a bit at the start until he unfortunately met his fate at the hands of what villain, Ryan? I can't remember who it was now.
Kingpin.
Oh, you mean Wilson Fisk? Yeah.
But I just think it was a very smart movie. He just took his time with it. He just waited. Whether it's because he just couldn't remember the guy's name, but he knew it straight away or not. It's a good pull, and it's a similar to one I think we had in actually the next match as well.
So listen, let's wrap up round 3 of this. It's all on Brennen. On the 2 in DC, who plays Carl Ferris and Green Lantern, Blake Lively. Then on the 3, it's in Star Trek. First question that comes out is how many films featured the cast of the original series. There's a challenge on the table. I'm not a Star Trek guy, but I believe that there is... Please, Andrew, explain the challenge to me.
All right, I was actually in total agreement with the challenge here, because the question is, how many films featured the cast of the original Star Trek series? Now, you have your first 6 Star Trek films, everything from the motion picture up to The Undiscovered Country, and these are all of the original cast members. However, you then have the first TNG movie, The Next Generation, where they were appearing, and there was a bit of a passing the torch moment where some of the original cast came back and appeared in the film. Those people being only, of course, Kirk, Scotty, McCoy, Kirk, Scotty, Spock. There's a few of them in there. Either way, there's only 3. There's 3. It's 3 of them, and I'm screwing it up right now. But this is not the majority of them. And then to put on top of that, the question was asked by the competitor to Steph Sabra, who was asking the question, do you mean ones in which some of them appeared? And she said the majority. 3 actors is not the majority of an ensemble of 7, 8 plus. So, of course, his answer of 6 is absolutely correct. And he got the correct clarification. He used a JT to buy time and then was awarded it back. He used his challenge correctly, and he laid out very clearly what the problem with the question was. In fact, I will go one step further and say that the FCL made the wrong call on this challenge, not by awarding it to him, but by asking him a new question. They should have given him the points straight up. There should have been no second question. He had it. He knew it. He knew the answer in both contexts. Whether it's 7 films with a few of them appearing or 6 films with all of them, there should never have been a second question. No chance for his opponent to steal. Otherwise, perfect challenge, properly handled.
So as you say, listen, the challenge is on the field. He gets a new question in Star Trek 2009 when Kirk meets Bones. What does he warn him he might do? He may throw up on him. Pings it back on to Sean. Sean's 2. Jurassic Park, how many films did Spielberg direct? 2. Sean's 3. Mixed Bag, who played Willow in 88's Willow, Warwick Davis. All on Brennan's 5 then, Heroes and Villains. This actor was a villain in Empire Strikes Back and Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Julian Glover being the correct answer. And then in this topsy-turvy seesaw match, it's all on Sean's 5. Swashbuckling Adventure, who plays Padre Quinto and Don Luis in the Zorro movies. does a couple of JTEs, leaves one on the table. You can tell by him he doesn't know the answer. He's trying to fish around for it. Comes out with a guess of Edward James almost, knows in himself it's not the correct answer. The correct answer being Tony Amendola, and your winner by way of winning, Brennen Marr, 20 points to 18. Ryan, it's a solid play. It's a back and forth, but all in all, a very, very entertaining debut by both players.
Absolutely. The questions were great, and boy, that was a 5-pointer if I ever heard one. Who played two characters in both Zorro films? Listen, I grew up watching these movies, and I love The Mask of Zorro to pieces, but even I wouldn't have been able to pull Tony Amendola out of my you-know-what. So, yeah, that is a 5-pointer if I ever heard one. Like, I love both. I know people throw the second movie under the bus. I understand why, but I still like the second one. Okay, come at me, bro. But the first one's obviously the cream of the crop. Yeah. But yeah, that was a 5-pointer. That is like a 10-pointer if I ever heard one. Like, you want to talk Intergeekdom, you want to win the world title of Intergeekdom, that is how you do it, by pulling those 5-pointers out of your keister. There's my G-rated version of that word. So my hat's off to both competitors. Great match, great questions. Good job with the challenge. I completely get it. I watched all the movies of Star Trek, so I understand why he would challenge it. I get it. Good explanation, Andrew. So let's go to Warp Drive and let's go to the next match. This was fun.
Definitely. I think, listen, before we finish out, CB, I'm thinking for Brennen next tonight, if he wants to keep this going, James Schmo, and then for Sean, maybe Alana Jordan might be a nice matchup.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, you'll be looking, for me, I'll be looking at people obviously with the same record, so 1-1. So yeah, obviously there's the James Schmo for Brennen, or even Kat, obviously, because she won the first EG match. But no, I pretty much agree with how you've gone with that. It sounds. I just
like to point out that as far as records go, while I agree with you and I see exactly what you're saying, CB, we do need to make a note that this is a new division, so technically nobody has a record yet.
Well, they have a record of 1 win.
They have a record in previous, yes.
Other divisions.
No, they've got 1-0 records. Cat's got a 1-0 record.
Oh, so. That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Even though Intergeekdom is brand new to FCL, respectively.
That's fine. You'll cut that out of the edit, CB, and I'll still look good.
I absolutely will not, so I can still look good.
So listen, let's move into the main event of FCL 19. John Knight, Matthew Reid, 2 0-2 competitors in different leagues, meeting in the middle in IG. This was a matchup I was a little bit surprised to see on the docket. John Knight, obviously being a friend of the show, he's been on a couple of times. He hasn't been shy in his disdain for certain categories within IG, but is obviously very strong in other ones, and was obviously hoping for that knowledge will kind of carry him through. Matthew, obviously, we've seen with Alex Damon in the MTS, moving from Star Wars into Intergeekdom is doable, but it's still very, very hard. And it clearly was for both guys in round one. It finishes 3-3, but it's still level. We are where we are. John gets 3 questions right. He knows Tilda Swinton in Snowpiercer, and gets the last 2 correct. Gore Verbinski's directed 3 Pirates movies, and what Alien / in the category of Alien Predator, what film opens with a character awakening to find he's parachuting into a jungle. Predators being the answer. Matthew forgets the S on that one. There's a few nice other questions in here. Obviously, there's an animated Star Wars question, which you would expect Matthew to get. There is some nice Batman back and forth, Bat Nippler 3000, Bat Nip base is kind of brought in. The one thing that, listen, while the trivia answers aren't there, these 2 guys are very, very entertaining. They're playing off well with one another, character-wise. Like, this is really good stuff. But Ryan, overall, like, with the questions that were there, how would you have done, do you reckon?
Oh, are you asking me?
I was, sir. Yes,
oh,
please.
Sorry. Had to step away for a second there. But as far as how would I have done in round 1 altogether?
Yeah.
I would probably have gotten maybe, man, I gotta think of these questions. Probably 5 or 6 out of 8, maybe, because there were a few tough ones in there. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, what was it? The Batman for Everyone. What was it called? It was called The Box. In every home in America, in one day of the world. Dude, I grew up on that film. Okay, Batman Forever. I grew up on that film, so I would know everything about it. But it's a shame you got it wrong. See, even the police sirens in the background of somebody's studio knows what's up. So the Batmobile is coming. Anyway. So yeah, I probably would have gotten 5 or 6 out of 8. It was this Intergeekdom match. There were some tough questions. I'm not gonna lie. So there you go. Those are my 2 cents on the round 1 of this match there.
Andrew, it's very much in certain ways what we were saying with the first match of Sean not knowing the specific actors. This felt more like the guys didn't really know the specific plot devices of certain movies. Because obviously, to Ryan's point, the box in Batman Forever, they didn't know the answer to Star Trek, the Yorktown. You know, there's like different sort of like these specific pieces. You need to know this stuff going into IG.
Yeah, no, I do apologize to all the viewers, all the listeners on our podcast, available now on Spotify, Apple Plus, etc. But that siren, that was for me. Don't worry, I'm in a safe location. They do not know where I am. They will not find me anytime soon. This is an interesting first round, and I got to say, Keith, like I agree with you. This is, and forgive me to both of these gentlemen for being harsh. I think both these guys are very entertaining. I love seeing them, and they're definitely giving us a match to watch. But this is a match between two 0-2 guys, and round one really proved it. Round one really came out and showed, unfortunately, that these guys maybe are both missing a particular set of movies being nailed down, or the fundamentals on something, or the basics of, there's some questions that were in here that made me question just how much knowledge these guys have in certain fields. That said, they both competed gamely, got the points that they could, and clearly they never let it get to them that they were down. So I got to applaud, if not their performance in round number one from a trivia standpoint, at least their attitude moving forward.
Let's move into round two. It's all on Knight. Decides to spin first. Who Said It is the category. Decides to spin away from it. Gets opponent's choice. Matthew saddles him with mixed bag. To be fair to John, he has precedent in the last two singles matches to do well in round two. And he does the same here, even with a category that he clearly doesn't want. Goes 2 for 2 in his first. Knows that Sam Worthington is in Terminator Salvation and that Marianne Ravenwood was in 2 Indiana Jones movies. That is a last minute guess. It really doesn't matter. It's points on the board. And God knows these guys really need it in this match. Decides to check down a multiple choice in his last two questions. The Harry Potter question of David Tennant, and then the Sky High question of Dave Foley. Up on to Matthew next. Decides to spin. Transformers, doesn't want anything to do with it and gets Swashbuckling Adventure. He goes 4 of 8 in this round. Knows that Sean Connery is Indiana Jones's Henry Jones Sr., and then multiple choice twice Armie Hammer in The Lone Ranger, and then Island de Muerte is what the island where the treasure is in Curse of the Black Pearl. They both miss on the multiple choice question of the last one in the Temple of Doom. Lau hires Indy to get the remains of what historical figure. It's 9-7. It's better, but it's still obviously not the high energy, high scoring matches that we're kind of used to. But CB, while it's a different kind of match, like there's still all to play for.
Yes, there is. I have to be a little bit harsh. Well, I don't think it is being harsh, but in John Knight's pre-match interviews and promos and things, he was just basically give away all of his weaknesses. He was saying everyone wizards and Hobbits. A word I will not say, crap maybe, but I've said it now, so I'm going to say it. I've said it. But he basically gave away all of his weaknesses. He's probably like, Harry Potter probably a weakness. Middle Earth is probably a weakness. Yeah, he was lucky that neither Wizarding World or Middle Earth were on the wheel. I don't believe, Keith, if I'm right.
Correct.
Neither of them, yeah. So I think Matthew Reid, I would fully expect and I hope that he would have been paying attention to that. If one of them was, he would have put one of those on there because obviously John Knight gave it away at the start of the match. That's his weaknesses. So he did the next best thing, put a mixed bag in there because it could be anything and some of those questions could pop up. I think John Knight did very well considering good uses of multiple choices and some very lucky guesses. Got himself through the round. And I want to say again, much like in the previous match, the Lone Ranger question, what was it? Who played the
Armie Hammer?
Who played the main character? I think with that film, it's not necessarily a great film.
No, it's not. We all like to forget that film ever happened.
But at pressure of the moment, it could be very easy to say who was the main, who played the title role, whatever. Very easy could have gone, oh, Johnny Depp was that, Johnny Depp, and just throw it out there, But he took his time, slowed down, thought about it, went to multiple choice, I believe, on that one to get the Arnie Hammer question right on that. So yeah, no, I think it's very well played actually from both of them. But I just need to say, John Knight, what are you doing pre-match, in a Geekton match, telling people what your weaknesses are? It's insane. It's just, and then get an opponent's choice. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. You know, he was lucky the mixed bag went the way it did, and he managed to guess his way through a couple of those answers.
To be fair, Andrew, knowing Knight the way he is, like, it could all just be a bit of bravado, and he maybe secretly likes all these movies.
Certainly, there is that possibility.
Maybe.
I mean, I got to agree with John Knight about at least one of the set of movies he talked about. I have never personally, and go ahead and come at me, folks, been a big fan of the Lord of the Rings films, the books. I see you shaking your head there, Chris. It's just personal taste. And that's part of the reason why I don't still compete in movie trivia, because I don't want to sit down and watch 9 hours of movie 15 times in a row. But that's what you have to do in these situations. I thought, like Chris said, much better handled second round. Both guys are actually playing it pretty smart. I'd say maybe the one strategy thing that I would go back on, that I would say, here's the Elks Edge for you folks. Let's talk social strategy. Let's talk psychology, and let's talk how you apply that. If you want to know what somebody wants you to think, listen to what they're saying. If you want to know what they actually think, watch what they do. If you are ever playing in a movie trivia match and someone spins something on the wheel and decides to spin away from it, I don't care if they said, I like this category, but I think there's some better ones. I don't care if they said, you know, it's not a terrible category, but I can do better. No matter what they say, all you really truly know is they landed on the category, and when push came to shove and they had to decide, do I want this? They said no. If your opponent lands on who said it and spins away and ends up on opponent's choice, give them who said it.
I think, CB, that's a nice little clip there for Andrews that you kind of put on the Twitter now during the week. A nice little nugget for all competitors to keep a note out for. But I think, listen, let's move into round 3. Let's wrap this up. Reed's 2, Swashbuckling Adventure, the villain on Stranger Tides being Blackbeard, puts it back on Knight. Star Wars question, in Return of the Jedi, what did Jabba say was his favorite piece of decoration? Knight says Jawas, the correct answer being Han Solo and Carbonite. Then it's back on Matthew's 3 in Spider-Man 2, what Sam Raimi's favorite plays the Usher, Bruce Campbell. And then it's all on Knight. Knight's 3 in Star Trek, what film brought the crew of the original series and Next Generations together? At the last second, he says First Contact, the correct answer being Star Trek Generations. And then it's all on Knight's 5. Category of Superman. In what is the name of the title Lois is writing at the end of Superman Returns? A very, very specific plot piece within a movie. He says Superman Returns because he doesn't know what the answer is, unfortunately. The answer being why the world needs Superman. And your winner by way of winning, Matthew Reid, 12-9. And I think the one thing that Matthew Reid can take out of this is he has been in 2 round 3s and hasn't got the job done. And while it's in a different division, he's gotten a job done in round 3, and that's something I think that he can take forward. But overall, Ryan, what were your thoughts on round 3 in this match as a whole?
Yeah, those were a few of those questions to me. For me, they would have been softballs. Like, what's Jabba the Hutt's favorite decoration in the palace? Come on, man. It says it during the movie in subtitles. It's right there. It's there. Just look. It's a good movie, by the way, Return of the Jedi. But
hot take from Ryan.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's a good movie. It's a good Star Wars film. It's not, like the greatest of them all, but it's a good one. Anyway,
hot take from Ryan.
I know Mark Ellis loves that movie, Return of the Jedi, respectively enough. But yeah, no, round 3 to me would have been a few softballs, but yeah, maybe they could have been some tough ones in there. I don't know, but either way, it was a tough day at the office for both competitors. Let's be honest, but in the words of a fictional character, I believe the T101, I'll be back. They'll be back. They'll be back, whether it's in our Geekdom or singles or Star Wars, and this for some people. I don't know, but they'll be back. They're going to be fine. This was a rough day at the office. It really was, but they just have to go out, have a few drinks, and, pick themselves up, dust themselves off, so they'll be fine in the next match. They just got to do a little bit more studying, hit the books, watch some movies you may or may not want to watch. Sorry, by the way, Star Trek First Contact's a great film. To be heard, but the answer was right in the question. Like, what brought the 2 casts together? Generation. It's Generations. It's right there. But other than that, these 2 are respectable competitors in their own rights. So let's be honest, and they'll be back to fight another day. Am I right?
Andrew, we definitely know John Knight is going to be back in some shape or form, because in a lovely little cutscene in FCL18, we learned that my good friend, Mr. Andrew Furtado, is now the flirting spouses.
I'm sorry. We are contractually obligated as pundits for the FCL to use proper nomenclature, and I believe the FCL has officially changed the title of one Andrew Furtado. What was that name?
Sally Jesse.
That's the one.
Okay. So Sally Jesse is now Zaflurtenflaus's secretary, I want to say. Mouthpiece? I'm not sure. Yeah. Interrupts John Knight's post-match interview and pretty much offers him a position in the Zaflurtenflaus gang. I have to say, objectively, outside looking in, those two guys were absolutely gold together in the lead up to the 3 weeks that they were due to face one another. So I'm quite excited that Sally Jesse plus the Collector plus the Zaflurtenflaus equals. What are we going to get, Andrew?
Well, what you're going to get is you're going to get entertained, folks. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get Andrew Furtado bringing it with that hyperkinetic energy that he's got. You're going to get the Collector menacing and deep and a little bit dismissive. You're going to get Zaflurtenflaus. That's right, bringing the joy, the entertainment, and the music to the world. This is a faction to watch out for. This is a heck of a pairing, and I can't wait to see what happens. Look at all the machinations going on. You got Zaflurtenflaus trying to put together some of the most exciting competitors in the league. You got John Knight ready to step up and show what he can do in a brand new form and a brand new place in his career in the FCL. And you've got Andrew Furtado, who's taking the most important role of all, because if you've ever been to Hollywood, you know it's not the people running the movie studios. It's not the actors who are running the world in Hollywood. It's the assistants, Keith. It's the people with the clipboards and the cell phones who are running and getting your coffee. In the end, they're the ones who will make you and who will break you. And Sally Jesse, congratulations on your promotion to assistant to the general manager. You're going to do a great job. I know you are, because I know you're a great kind of person. And what an exciting group of individuals together. We can say maybe in some matches coming up, if they get them, some questions might go unanswered. But you know what will not go unanswered? Your hope, your dreams for an entertaining matchup, for something that you want to watch again and again, because that's what these three are going to give to you now that they're all a unit. I can't wait.
Chris, we now have the mouth and the muscle joining the Flaus. What more can be said?
Absolutely. It's fantastic. You're presuming the Collector, John Knight's, they're going to be, like you said, the muscle, the bodyguard for the Flaus, I'd imagine. And I just have to say, obviously, Sally Jesse, as now known, and John Knight were our very first two guests. So I'm very much expecting a call soon that we're going to be part of that little organisation they got going on, and we will officially become This Week in the Flaus Cast League or something of that nature. But yeah, I am delighted for this. I'm a Flaus fan, European. Love them, don't we?
I mean, some of us do, Chris, but I think, listen, we've broken down FCL18, we've broken down FCL19. It's been a bumper episode, and Andrew Elk has one thing left to say.
David Jindoyan, you don't need protein for movie trivia.
I think, listen, we can tag that into the next section as we look forward to what's going to happen next week in the FCL.
So next week in the FCL, I got to say, 4 competitors are going to jump into that ring. They're going to duke it out in 2 different matches, singles matches to be more specific. And these are going to be dynamite, in my humble professional opinion. We got Fishburne from Grand Theft Auto Vice City Reject versus the sinister one known as James Schmoes, if I'm remembering that correctly. So Fishburne versus Schmoes, my goodness gracious, that's going to be a heck of a match. I think it's going to come down to the nitty-gritty, in my humble professional opinion. My money's on Grand Theft Auto Vice City himself, Mr. Fishburne. So, well, my question to my colleagues here, Andrew, who you got your money on with Fishburne v. Schmoes?
Well, it's an interesting matchup. I know we're going to get a lot of character out of these two. Pretty decent knowledge. I think they both put up good points in their previous matchups. And Schmoes now might be a little bit distracted. He's got some competition for the Sinister Syndicate. We haven't even met the members yet, and already Zaflurtenflaus is stepping on his toes. That's what happens when you come to dance with the big boys, Schmoes. And he's going up against Fishburne, so maybe that'll throw him off. Maybe that he won't have the calm, the compassion, the coolness that you need when you're in that ring. And from a man called Sinister, I wouldn't be surprised to see him kind of caught up in his new worries with this new faction coming out, whatever Zaflurtenflaus is going to call him and Sally Jesse and John Knight and whoever else they rope into it. So I got to think he's going to have other things on his mind, and agree with you, Ryan. I think the stash takes it. Fishburne would be my pick, but I could see it going either way.
So is this person going to ride the fence or actually pick somebody for once in his life? CB, who you got? Fishburne v. Schmo. Or are you going to sit like the cat and just ride the fence?
I am going to ride the fence slightly. No, these are to be fair, I'm very excited about this card. There's going to be 2 great matches, and the main event of Fishburne versus James Schmo. It just, when I saw it, it just made sense to me. They're 2 fantastic characters anyway, but both with 2 wins under their belt. Obviously, Schmo got the 1 defeat to Kaelin Corrigan, I believe, in his first match. But it makes sense for that main event. That one, I would actually find it difficult to know which way I'd go. When it comes to actually the ability, which ones I like more than the other, I'd probably lean towards Travis Fishburne, to be honest. I can't pull off a shirt and I can't grow a tash like that.
Quick, somebody put barbed wire on top of the fence while he's down.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as the undercard, Jindo and Gallagher, again, it's a matchup that makes sense when it comes to what the records I've got. Obviously, Jindoin has got the 1 win. But Gallagher hasn't got that win yet, I don't believe, from my memory serves me right.
But he's 1-1. You bet Chattel Bash.
Yeah, of course he did. Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it makes sense with the record. So yes, they're going to be 2 exciting matches. I would probably want to go with Jindoin just because of all the eggs he's been drinking. He must be like raring to go for this. So yeah, that's the one I'm going to go, Jindoin and Fishburne. But both matches really could go either way. And if that barbed wire went up on that fence, I'll be back up there in a shot.
You and your stupid fence. God.
I freshly painted it this week. It's
great. That is fantastic.
A nice,
the ghost of Mr. Miyagi came to you in a dream and said, I want you to paint both sides of the fence. Do it now. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, all right. You know what? Forget it. We're going to go off book here. If I'm going to pick somebody between Jindoin and that man is playing Galago. Between those 2, I'm going with Jindoin. He's a survivor. He's a survivor. He knows what he's doing. Plus, he's eating them protein. He's drinking them protein shakes every day, which I heard couldn't hurt. So, good on you, man. Hey, if the sun's out and the guns are out, which I know you like to wear this shirt a lot. So, good on you, Jindoin. Represent the brand, my man. So, yeah, my money's on Jindoin. But anyway, the stats, man. Keith, who are you going with Fishburne versus Schmo and then Jindoin versus Gallagher? Because clearly CB went off book and messed me up on the script. So, go ahead.
Listen, we'll get this back on track fairly easy, right? Jindoin and Gallagher, I'm going to say the same thing about Gallagher that I've said all along. He's a guy that gives you a chance. He's a guy that gives you an opening. So David just needs to hold himself and play at the level that he's at, and he's going to get himself a chance to win. It's just a matter of whether he can take it or not, because he's going to be given the opportunity. For the main event, I don't know. I think Brad Gilmore has listened to this show the whole time, because how many times have I said matches need to go ahead, and then a couple of weeks later, boom, there it is, booked. I said a couple of weeks ago when we were going through the top 10 rankings that Fishburne versus Schmo was the way to go for a potential number 1 contender match. That hasn't been announced, but everything else has pretty much happened. In terms of the match itself, there's kind of a similar vibe that I'm kind of getting what I just said. Schmo he's done well when he's hot, like he's on fire, but he is a guy that can miss, and he is a guy that I think can get clipped. Fishburne has been very, very solid strategically, moving from his round 1s to round 2s, and then he's kept calm in round 3. I think Schmo can be got at, and I think Fishburne is going to put him away, and I think he's going to put him away quite easily, maybe kind of like 3-4 points.
Could be the case. Either way, we're going to find out one way or the other next week. Andrew, any final thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say to you, David Jindoin, instead of getting up early in the morning and doing your Rocky impersonation and drinking 4 raw eggs out of a glass, maybe get yourself a nice big bowl, put some popcorn in it, and go watch the movie Rocky, just in case any questions come up. Might be a little more helpful to you. I appreciate the reference, but those eggs are going to do nothing but make you feel logy in the afternoon, my man. That said, you come out and you go sans sleeves and make everybody else look like they're sans suave, because you are the man in those sleeveless ones. The guns are out. The rage is ready. You are going to step in there and you are going to take this match down. I have to agree with everybody on this panel, except, of course, for CB on his perch above us all on the fence, and say that I think this one's going to be a good matchup, but that Jindoyan has it as long as he controls himself. Stay calm, stay steady, take the points you can, and don't take any risks, because that's what you need to do against an opponent who has a real chance at making a big miss and giving it up to you.
Well, we'll find out. Next week, 2 great matches, 4 big name competitors. Anything can happen. Anything is possible. Let's just hope, for my sake, that some idiot known as Sally Jesse, is that his name now? Sally Jesse doesn't come in during the post-game interviews, crashes, says, "Hey, you guys did really well. Do you want to join the Zaflert and Klaus was it Zaflert? So it would be ZWO, the Zaflert and Klaus World Order? No, I don't want that. These 4 competitors don't need it. They don't want it. Brad Gilmore, if you're watching this, which I know you are, give me the call. Put me in the FCL. Put me in a singles match. Let me earn my way to the #1 contenders match. Let me win that title and put some respect and honor back into the FCL for you, Brad Gilmore." The quote is more than happy to do that for you. But aside from that, Andrew, take us out.
All right, Ryan, that I will. And first and foremost, real quick, let me say to each and every one of you gentlemen, and also to Keith, it's been a pleasure having the whole crew back here once again for this week in the FCL. It's great when the fearsome foursome can unite, and fearsome foursome is what you're going to be seeing next week as we have those matches coming at you. That's right, Jindoyan versus Galago, Fishburne versus Schmo. I know for sure we're all going to be back here breaking it all down for you, making sure you get all the news that's fit to print. That's for you. That's for Keith. That's for Chris. That's for Ryan. That's for all the fans, and even all the competitors like Sally Jesse or Miss Raphael if you're nasty. We will come back next week, and you can always check us out right here. Don't forget, you can check us out on podcast, Apple Music, and Spotify, and Pandora, and whatever those are, right, Chris? We're on all the places. Is that where you put it?
Nearly everywhere, I think.
Nearly everywhere. So check it out. If you're interested in This Week in the FCL, you'll find us. Don't forget to put some comments on those YouTube videos. We're going to have Chris scrape those, and maybe we'll respond to some fan comments on the show. Who knows? Like, subscribe, share, and make sure to check out the FCL and the movie trivia Schmoedown. It's been another great week. We will be back next week, and it's been a pleasure joining my co-host today, such as the lovely Keith. Keith, where can everybody find you?
Twitter and Instagram at Cake of Love Media. Check me out in the Opening Pair YouTube channel. This week I will be dropping my first ever single shot movie review of The Suicide Squad. A couple of interesting points that I'm going to bring in. A couple of different ways I'm going to break it down. Please join. Please like. Please subscribe. Ryan, 2 minutes on the clock. Go.
Boy, that's not a lot of time. That doesn't give us a lot of time, does it? In the words of Daniel Craig from James Bond, Quantum of Solace. Good movie for me, by the way. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Check us out on all forms of social media at It's Nerd Culture. New videos being posted on our YouTube channel each and every week. Check out my podcast on Anchor, Google, Spotify. It's called The Nerdcast. I review some of the latest movies I've had a chance to see. Check those out. If you're to favorite, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I'm trying to think, am I missing anything? Oh, yes. Brad Gilmore. Where's the belt? Anyway. I'll be back here on This Week in the FCL. Who's next?
I guess that'll be me. So you can find me sat firmly on my freshly painted fence at ChrisBarnes_UK, and also on Instagram at The Movie Barnes. That's all.
All right. Well, with all that for my lovely co-host, thank you, gentlemen, once again. We'll be back to see you next week. Thirsty Firsties, tune back in and check us out. I am the Elk. You can find me online at CalcAndrew. And until next time, we will be waiting for all that wonderful FCL action, and we'll be waiting to once again see all of you back here for more news about everything that happens this week in the FCL next week on This Week in the FCL.